Ladies and gentlemen, the Chinese Grand Prix just revealed that all the Formula One teams have pulled their pantses down and shown us how big and small they all are. We're really now starting to see exactly what type of pace the teams have. Now, Les guys, you're probably wondering, where the hell am I? A lot of construction going on in the studio. The building next door, it's a mess. The noise is dreadful. So we said we'd do this at home because the machine goes on, doesn't it? So lads, Chinese Grand Prix, interesting, very, very interesting. But before we get into it, I want to talk about Lewis Hamilton. As many of you know, I'm not a fan of Hamilton. I'm not. I rate him really, really good. And I think there's a real message here, lads, for a lot of us, that you never know what's around the corner. You know, if you're having a dark time in your life, you just never know what one throw of a dice and things can turn in a good way for you. And there's a classic example of Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton, as we all know, in 2021. Let's rewind. In Abu Dhabi, he has the championship showdown, the one lap. And in that one lap, he gets overtaken and his 8th championship was taken away from him. It was. In a way, you can say he even got robbed. Now, of course, you could go the other way too, and I'm not here to argue with anybody on that one. But it was a horrific incident for him. I mean, it was, I can't even imagine. I mean, talk about just getting slapped in your face, falling on your face, whichever way you describe it, but it was falling on your face, many words. And the guy was struggling, you know, and then he stays with Mercedes. Then all of a sudden the car's off the next year. He's nowhere. Russell is outperforming him. Then you have last 2024, disastrous year. Right? He did out-qualify Russell and beat him in the races many a time, yes, but all in all, it just went downhill from Abu Dhabi for the last couple of years for Lewis Hamilton. What does he do? As we all know, he decides he's going to go to Ferrari. Now, going to Ferrari, people were wondering, is this going to be a good move? Ferrari, they haven't been championship race winning team yet. They've been winning races the last couple of years. Yes. Were they outperforming Mercedes? In many ways, they did have a little bit of an edge over Mercedes. Not Red Bull, of course, but they did have a bit of an edge over them. So, okay, if you're going to change team with a slightly different results, well, okay, you'd be looking at Ferrari then, right? But then again, you've got Mercedes. His home. And he decided to jump ship. That was a tough decision, I've no doubt. Now, you kind of see it too in Netflix Drive to Survive, where he actually is kind of throwing digs at Toto Wolff, which was, wow. But I'll let you decide on that one. But the thing is, before we get into the actual Grand Prix, the Chinese event, the sprint race, he goes out, he qualifies on pole, and he wins the race. Now, that's the message, guys. It was all over for Hamilton. We were all thinking this, right? Weren't we all thinking this? It was over. It was done. The guy might as well just sail off into the sunset. But he didn't. He stayed. And let's come back to that in a second. So a good win for Hamilton. Great win for Hamilton. He got the feet wet with the team. That's definitely, if anything, it sort of clicked things into place for Hamilton and Ferrari now, if you know what I mean. And yes, okay, for the sprint, they set that car up. Now, they really went to town on the setup of that car for the sprint race, because some of the teams, they're not necessarily going to be going all in on the actual setup, because you still got the major Grand Prix ahead. Now, they went all in for Hamilton on this one, because you can see the difference. Well, hang on, Hamilton qualifies it on pole for the sprint, but he's in fifth. Was it fifth or sixth? I can't remember now, guys. Fifth or sixth for the actual Grand Prix. That doesn't make sense, right? If he puts it on pole, but all of a sudden, different setups, different scenario. So that's why you see the difference in pace. And for Hamilton, for the main qualifying, for the main Grand Prix, they set that car up for the car to last in the Grand Prix itself. They weren't setting it up for a 25, was it 25 laps? I think it was a 25 lap stint race, or either way, 25% of the full Grand Prix race. So that's what they were doing here, lads. And let's see, let's have a look at the notes. And another point, actually, guys, for the Grand Prix as well. Okay, look, it was a little bit of a boring Grand Prix, a little bit, all right. It wasn't one of the greatest, as we've all seen here today. But like I said, though, it was good because we have now seen the pace of where people are really at here, right? They've, like I said, they've pulled the trousers down and they're revealing what they have. And the great thing with China this year, and people were wondering, why are they going a lot faster now this year? They're going 3 seconds faster this year than last year, simply because the track got resurfaced. So then sometimes when you resurface a track, it can either be a lot slippier, it can be a lot grippier, right? It can be an overall better performance on the track. So they obviously did a really good job of resurfacing that track. And when they do that, that just shows the track is 3 seconds quicker. I mean, that just doesn't happen in many tracks. It just doesn't. You might have a half a second, maybe a second quicker, but 3 seconds, that's frightening pace. That's frightening how better that track is. Now, of course, the teams, sorry, excuse me, guys. The teams will have obviously improved their car since last year too. So there's a little bit of that too. You could maybe argue that it was, a half a second quicker with the car, but then you're down to 2.5 seconds. So even 2.5 seconds for that car, for that track, is phenomenal. It almost never happens. So anyway, well done, China, for resurfacing that track, because they did an awesome job on that, man. Okay, let's have a look. And okay, let's get to the main race. So we have Oscar Piastri qualifies pole, wins the race outright. Not one bit of pressure on the lad this weekend. He had, yes, Norris up his tailpipe for one moment, but he controlled it beautifully. There wasn't a flinch out of the guy this weekend. Piastri, I've always rated the guy, and here we go. Maybe this is the sign of things to come now. Things will start to blossom for Oscar Piastri. Fingers crossed for any Piastri lovers out there. And it was great. It just didn't buckle under the pressure. Norris, not a bad second. He had one or two little sort of, oh, geez, but he got the job done. So it was a very, very solid performance by McLaren, Piastri, and Norris. George Russell, obviously he qualifies second. He just struggles that little bit when it comes to the actual race itself. He really does. And again, we saw it today. He goes from second down to third, and he stayed in third. But, McLaren, they've got Mercedes, they've got some real pace here, lads. They've got some real pace here. I would not be ruling them out for the year at all. And, let's talk about Verstappen. Well, down in sixth, then he gets up to fifth, fourth, and that car it's a dead duck. It's a dead duck. Now, maybe I'm wrong. And for any of you Verstappen fans out there, hopefully for your sake, I am wrong. But it's not looking good for Verstappen here, lads. It really isn't. To be down that far down. I mean, Verstappen won here last year. So it just goes to show you that their car normally, when Adrian Newey was on board, their car is normally very, very good around China. But today, it wasn't. It just wasn't. So with Adrian Newey gone, these guys have lost their legs, and they've been playing catch-up ever since. As we know, last year he won the championship, and it was a deserving championship. And the thing was, Adrian Newey leaves halfway through the year, but at the same time, they had the pace with the points difference built up so early in the year that they got away with it. So they're really struggling. They're really, really struggling. And we even see Verstappen at the start. He even said after the qualifying that they just don't have the pace. He just doesn't think he's going to be going anywhere in the race. And he was right. The guy was right. So anyway, guys, it's we'll leave it there today. Short and sweet one today. And hopefully we'll be back in the studio in the next few days. We should be, but it was meant to end the last couple of days. But we'll be back soon anyway. But the thing I really want to take away today, guys, from the whole weekend, don't give up. Lewis Hamilton didn't give up. And it just really goes to show you. I don't think Hamilton is done with winning this year. And Leclerc, by the way, let's talk about him just for a quick second. Lightning, I mean, just the man was possessed, as Martin Brundle even said. He was possessed driven today. He had that wing damage today. Now, obviously, this is a sort of maybe this is a good problem to have that, oh, guys, we've just spent millions and millions in the aerodynamics design on the front of the car here, and all of a sudden, the wing gets damaged and he's right still in the race. That car should have struggled a lot. He should have lost 20-30% speed, and he didn't. So it's a wonder. But that's Ferrari, Hamilton's teammate. Back to Hamilton. Hamilton, I think Hamilton and Leclerc, I think they're going to be contending for race wins this year. I think they're still lacking, obviously. They didn't finish on the podium today. They're still lacking that outright pace, which they really, truly need. And they don't have it right now. So, the most important thing, though, you can see today, guys, if you're down in your luck, things are just not going right, everything's going south on you, look at Lewis Hamilton. And I've got a lot of respect for the guy, I really do. The guy could have sailed, like I said, the guy could have sailed off into the sunset and forgotten the whole thing. Look, I've got my 7 world championships, Mercedes are doom and gloom, let's get out of here, we're done. He didn't. He stayed. And he's won a sprint race. Now, it wasn't a full Grand Prix, right? But he won a race. He picked up 8 points. He clicked now with the team. It's made him get the confidence in the car. He's right there now. He's right there. And Leclerc and Hamilton, there was nothing between them time-wise today. So the point is this, lads. And I know it's hard for all of us, including myself too, a lot of the times. You can have your dark moments where everything's not going right, but it just goes to show you. One click of a finger, one lucky throw of the dice, and things can rapidly change, just like they've done for Lewis Hamilton. Don't give up. Keep in the fight if you really believe in something. I have to remind myself of this too a lot of the time as well. Keep in there because you never know. And most importantly, like for Hamilton too, the hurricane always passes. Talk to you later, guys.